Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm calling to order the November 19th meeting of the Clean Energy Alliance. And could the clerk please take a roll call?
Board Member Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Chair Becker.
Present.
Chair Haviland.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, and then Solana Beach is hosting the meeting today, so Vice Chair Becker will be leading us in the pledge.
Okay. Hand over your heart. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Our first agenda item today is a closed session. So if the board attorney could please bring us into closed session at this time.
Yes, there are two items for closed session today as shown on the agenda. One is for existing litigation on a matter pending before the CPUC. And the second item is a discussion of initiation of litigation in two potential cases. And Chair, if you just want to now see if anyone in the public wanted to address either of these two items in public, we should do so. Then we'll be ready to go into closed session.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment on our closed session agenda item? Susan?
We have no request to speak.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to create the room and bring the board into the closed session room. One moment. All right, Michael, can you confirm we're broadcasting?
Confirm web stream is up and broadcasting is live.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everyone. While we have been in closed session, could the attorney please bring us back into open session?
Yes, the board met in closed session and there are no reportable items.
Thank you. And now we have board comments and announcements.
Yes.
Board Member Schumacher.
I would just like to take a moment to appreciate and thank Chair Haviland. This is, I believe, her last meeting with the CEA. And just thank you for helping us get this launched off the ground and for all of your service to not only the city of Del Mar, but also on Sandag and with the CEA. You will be sorely missed. It has been an absolute pleasure serving with you, beside you, and following your leadership. So thank you so much. There's much more to say, but you will be missed.
Thank you.
Just second that.
Thank you so much for that. And at the end of the meeting, I'll have a few comments to say as well, but I appreciate that very much.
Presentations today, Chair.
No presentations. All right, and do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda?
No requests to speak have been received.
No requests to speak. All right, and now we move on to the approval of minutes.
I'd move approval of the minutes from regular meeting held September 17th and the regular meeting held October 15th.
I'll second.
Great, and can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Schumacher.
Aye.
Vice Chair Becker.
Yes.
Chair Haviland.
Yes.
Thank you.
And moving on to our consent calendar. We have eight items on our consent calendar.
Move approval of 8 items on the consent calendar.
We have three, I believe it's 3 items on the consent calendar.
Yes, I apologize. We have 3 items on our consent calendar.
Move the consent calendar with 3 items noted.
Second.
All right, and can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Schumacher,
Aye.
Vice Chair Becker,
Yes.
Chair Haviland.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4, the Clean Energy Alliance Interim Chief Executive Officer Report and Regulatory Affairs Update.
Thank you, Chair Haviland, and I will share my screen for presentation purposes. Oh, I actually don't have a presentation. I have just a couple of items to note, and then we'll turn it over to our regulatory attorney, Tosdahl. We are, while we haven't begun our notices to our customers, there was our notice that is going out to the Solana Energy Alliance customers because they are currently with one CCA and transitioning to another. We needed to provide those customers with a 6-month notice. So it'll be the first notification to customers that includes Clean Energy Alliance on it, notifying those customers of the upcoming transition to Clean Energy Alliance. We also have our website is being updated to reflect our new logo and brand, and also to reflect our current, where we are in our in stage of our implementation. And that will be going live December 1st, and we will have a presentation for the board at the next meeting in December to go through the website. We're very excited about that. And lastly, our Community Advisory Committee, they will have their first meeting is scheduled for December the 3rd at 2 p.m. And we look forward to having that committee kick off for us. Lastly, I'm pleased to let the board know that we did complete our resource adequacy procurements. And as you might recall, this is a critical step in our implementation and preparing to serve load in 2021. And we were provided with specific requirements upon which we had to procure. And we procured all of the requirements that were provided to us, and we did not need to file any type of waiver based on not meeting our requirements. So I'm very pleased to let the board know that we're fully compliant with our resource adequacy requirements. And with that, I'll turn it over to Regulatory Attorney Tosdahl for his update.
Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Good afternoon, board members. Going to report to you on a few regulatory proceedings and matters this afternoon, and I know our time is limited, so I will keep it relatively brief. Previously, we've discussed SDG&E's PCIA trigger application. This is a result of the application of the PCIA cap and trigger mechanism. At this point, all 3 utilities have filed trigger applications, which is certainly noteworthy. SDG&E originally requested a 3-month amortization or recovery period for the $8.92 million trigger balance. Their most recent brief backs off that position a little bit and proposes a 6-month period. Our briefing on this matter recommended a 36-month amortization period, so a much longer amortization period. Nevertheless, I think things are headed in the right direction in that proceeding. There have been some settlement discussions, and we will see how those turn out. In addition to the trigger application proceeding, we are also working on the SDG&E ERA forecast proceeding. SDG&E has addressed the $84.5 million mistake or error that we uncovered with our special counsel on this matter. We were also looking at issues around SDG&E's rates for next year. They are proposing a very substantial rate decrease. System average rates for bundled customers would decline under their proposal by nearly 3 cents per kilowatt hour, or 12.3% compared to current effective rates. scrutinizing their most recent testimony, we have discovered some issues around the methodology that they are using, and we'll be addressing them with SDG&E and in subsequent comments. There were comments filed actually in this proceeding yesterday that addressed this problem. So that is the status with the SDG&E air forecast. That proceeding is scheduled to conclude by the end of the year, so we'll have a final decision in December. The arrearage management plan, moving on, there's a program that we've discussed previously that the California utilities are undertaking as a result of a decision by the Public Utilities Commission around customer disconnections. Designed to protect low-income customers. One of the programs coming out of this decision is called the Arrearage Management Plan, or the AMP plan. And it is essentially a debt forgiveness plan for customers. And the debt forgiveness is going to be recovered through rates through the public purpose program charge, and then refunded to the utility and to CCA programs who elect to participate. This is bring this up because we got a resolution issued recently on the AMP program, and also just want to remind you all that CEA would need to actually take some affirmative action to notify SDG&E that it is interested in participating. So perhaps at a future board meeting, we can discuss that in more detail. Finally, the financial security requirement is due shortly. We have an advice letter and compliance deadline of December 8th. We're anticipating that the minimum $147,000 is going to need to be posted at that time. There was a new calculation of CEA's FSR obligation that was issued by SDG&E. It is confidential, so I'm not going to get into details around that, but we did have some issues with it that we'll be taking up with SDG&E. That is the status of at least the priority regulatory items, and happy to answer any questions about those items from the board or from the management.
All right, thank you for those updates, and it's great to see that we're meeting some of these important milestones. Are there questions or comments from board members? Yes, Board Member Schumacher.
Thank you. Quick question about the arrearage management plan. Is there a deadline for which we should be thinking about bringing something back to the board to keep us updated on that, or provide a resolution that you might need?
Ms. Schumacher, we need to provide notice to SDG&E 60 days before participation, before they're able to actually enroll any of our customers in the program and provide the services associated with the AMP program. I don't really see a reason to wait on this if the board is inclined to act on it. In fact, it probably helps us just for advanced planning purposes to just send the notice over. At our earliest opportunity, if this is something that the board's interested in doing, and I'd be happy to talk in more detail about the implications of it. But certainly, there are plenty of good reasons to participate. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you very much. I would imagine that we'd be interested. So maybe we can just let the CEO manage that. But I just also wanted to provide 2 very large thumbs up for the RA procurement. Well done, fully compliant. Music to my ears. Thank you very much.
All right, Vice Chair Becker, any questions or comments?
I don't. Thank you. Thank you for that update.
All right. Thank you. Moving on then to item number 5, the Clean Energy Alliance Pro Forma update.
Thank you, Chair Haviland. As you may recall, we had anticipated bringing forward to the board our updated pro forma. We had been waiting until after the November update from SDG&E's ERAS rate application. And due to the challenges and issues that we found with that filing and the uncertainties with regards to where that rate would go, we did not feel we had reliable information with which to put together the pro forma for this meeting, along with the outstanding items with regards to the PCIA trigger application that will impact PCIA for Clean Energy Alliance and their customers. Both of those proceedings, we will have clarity and should have decisions in December, and in sufficient time for us to bring the updated pro forma back to the board at its December 17th meeting. So I look forward to those issues hopefully being settled and being able to bring that forward.
Thank you. Any board member questions or comments? All right. Moving on to item 6. The authorized execution of escrow agreement and establishment of secured account to satisfy the updated financial security requirement.
Thank you, Chair Haviland. And I do have a presentation for the board on this item. The item before the board for consideration is to authorize the interim chief executive officer to execute an escrow agreement with River City Bank and San Diego Gas and Electric and establish a new account with River City Bank in satisfaction of the new financial security requirement subject to general counsel approval. In addition, we would be appropriating $147,000 for the financial security requirement, which is to be funded by an increase in the loan from Calpine Energy Solutions that is to be considered at one of the next agenda items. By way of background, the California Public Utilities Commission issued Decision 18-05-022, which establishes the financial security requirements for community choice aggregation programs. The purpose of the financial security is to provide funding to cover costs borne by the IOU, in our case, San Diego Gas and Electric, in the event of a mass involuntary return of Clean Energy Alliance customers to the IOU. So if for some reason we had an unforeseen reason to discontinue serving customers and those customers would return to SDG&E, SDG&E would incur costs related to bringing those customers back and then procuring the energy for those customers. And this funding source provides the funds to assist with those costs. The financial security requirement is set at a minimum $147,000 and is recalculated every 6 months to determine if costs have changed that would result in that amount changing. You may recall that the board posted its initial CCA bond in March with the California Public Utilities Commission at $100,000. This new requirement increased that to $147,000, and once we have satisfied the new requirement, we would get our $100,000 back. So instead of just being able to satisfy the differential, we have to actually put up the new amount before we can seek refund of the initial $100,000. The decision did provide 3 options for the CCAs to satisfy their financial security requirement. Those included a letter of credit, providing a surety bond, or depositing cash with a third-party financial institution secured by an escrow agreement. Staff has been working with SDG and River City Bank to develop an escrow agreement, which has been determined to be the lowest cost option with which to satisfy the security requirement. Once it's set up, we are required to file an advice letter with the PUC showing evidence of satisfying that requirement, and that must be filed by December 8th, 2020. And that's the advice letter that our regulatory counsel, Tosdahl, referred to. And again, we are proposing that this new amount be funded by an increase in our loan from Calpine. And that does conclude my presentation.
Any questions from board members on this item?
I do have one quick question.
Yes.
Thank you. So the FSR is required to be in escrow for the entirety of the length of the CCA, and they can just keep upping that as well every 6 months if they determine it needs to be higher?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, so the funds are held for the entire existence of the CCA, and they do calculate the new amounts every 6 months. And it is possible that the amounts could go up, although the cost of procurement is then also offset by revenue. And so it is a potential for it to go up. We aren't aware, or there hasn't been any, to this point, any CCAs operating that have experienced anything higher than the minimum in their calculations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And was there any public comment on this agenda item?
We've received no comments.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Board Member Schumacher.
Thank you. Quick question. Once we are able to receive the 100,000 back from the account, does that go directly back to Calpine? We're not going to hold on to that, are we?
It would come back to Clean Energy Alliance, and then certainly it's board's discretion if they would like to repay portion of the advance from Calpine.
Okay. And that's something that we would just have a conversation about during budget discussions?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
Yes, I would move approval of staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, and just to clarify, this is to both authorize the interim CEO to execute the escrow agreement as well as appropriate the $147,000 for the financial security requirement. Is that?
Yes.
All right, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Board Member Schumacher.
Aye.
Vice Chair Becker.
Yes.
Chair Haviland.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we're on to item 7, approve increase in promissory note with Calpine Energy Solutions. Ms. Boswell?
Thank you, Chair Haviland, and I'll share my screen once again for our presentation. The item before the board for consideration is recommendation to authorize an increase in the promissory note with Calpine Energy Solutions to increase from the existing loan of $400,000 to the full amount offered by Calpine Energy Solutions of $650,000, which would provide the funding for the financial security requirement we just spoke about, as well as to provide funding for resource adequacy collateral requirements. The agreement with Calpine Energy Solutions included a loan for Clean Energy Alliance to use for its initial startup costs up to a maximum $650,000. On October 20th, 2020, the CEA board did authorize the initial promissory note up to $400,000 to fund our admin costs through January 2021. Since that time, we've had additional costs come up that had not been anticipated in the initial promissory note. Those included $147,000 financial security requirement, which must be posted prior to the refund of the $100,000 currently held by the PUC. In addition, we had resource adequacy transaction procurements that the supplier did require that we post cash collateral as security for those procurements. We were able to negotiate terms that allowed some time to post that collateral, but we do need to increase our loan from Calpine in order to provide the funding to meet those requirements. The term of the loan from Calpine Energy Solutions is that repayments are to begin 3 months after we begin serving customers, and the full loan to be repaid over 12 months. This loan does not have any recourse to the member agencies. The interest rate is based on the 1 month LIBOR plus 2% up to a maximum 5%. The current 1 month LIBOR is at 0.14% approximately. So if we were to borrow today or borrow now, our interest would be approximately 2.14%. And that does conclude my presentation for the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Board Member Schumacher.
Thank you. So we're increasing. I did see the cost of the $140,000 that we just talked about, but can you remind me of the other items that would require an increase of $250,000 from the previously approved amount?
The difference is to provide the funding for the cash collateral that was required by an energy supplier related to one of our resource adequacy transactions that we just completed to meet our resource adequacy compliance requirements.
Okay, got that. Sorry, I see it now. Thank you for clarifying.
Vice Chair Becker, did you have any questions?
No, I do not. I would move approval of staff recommendation to authorize the increase in promissory note with Calpine from $400,000 to the maximum $650,000 to cover the financial security requirement and resource adequacy collateral requirements.
Second.
And before we take the roll call vote, is there any public comment on this item?
We have received no request to speak.
Thank you. All right, a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Board Member Schumacher?
Aye.
Vice Chair Becker?
Yes.
Chair Haviland?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now we're on item 8, authorize interim chief executive officer to negotiate terms for Clean Energy Alliance credit solutions.
And thank you, Chair Haviland. I will share my screen one last time for today's meeting. And the item before the board is a recommendation to authorize the CEO to negotiate terms for the Clean Energy Alliance credit solution. By way of background, the board has had before it at several meetings the consideration of its credit solution to fund its not only the initial startup costs, but initial cash flow needs as part of our launch in May of 2020. The most recent actions taken by the board were to direct staff to reach out to the member agencies with regards to the River City Bank credit solution. That solution had a requirement that there be, for 2.5 million of their 4 million credit solution, that there be either cash collateral or a guarantee provided by either the member agencies or a third party for 2.5 million. The CEA board did direct the CEO to reach out to the member agencies to determine if there would be any willingness or ability for the member agencies to provide that guarantee. The cities of Solana Beach and Del Mar city councils did consider and approve a portion of the guarantee that was allocated based on their prorata share of load. So it was $175,000 for Solana Beach and $75,000 for Del Mar. The Carlsbad City Council did consider, was brought to them the consideration of the guarantee, but was also presented with the potential for the city of Carlsbad to provide the full loan to Clean Energy Alliance in lieu of providing the guarantee. When the at its July 28th meeting, the city of Carlsbad City Council considered the loan terms and conditions, but did not approve the loan, nor did they consider the guarantee at that time. On August the 20th, the CEA board did approve executing the promissory note with Calpine Energy Solutions to provide funding for its administrative costs through January 2021. Since that time, we have additional clarity on what our needs are between February and June, when we would start receiving revenue from customers when we start serving customers. We are projecting our administrative costs based on the current contracts that we have between February and June to be $540,000. We have a deposit that we need to make with the California Independent System Operators as part of beginning to serve load and participating in the market of $500,000. We have additional deposits that we will be needing to make related to securing energy supply of $245,000, and then payments for energy supply contracts of just over $3 million. So our total funding need is approximately $4.3 million. We have had recent discussions with the two banks that are still open to and willing to offer credits to Clean Energy Alliance, both JP Morgan and River City Bank. You may recall that the JP Morgan solution, when it was presented to the board, had repayment terms of just 3 years, and also included a rate covenant that would require the board to set its rates to cover sufficient to cover costs of operations and debt service, and would not provide the discretion for the board to fund costs out of fund balance if that resulted in the rate itself not being able to cover those costs. We've had recent discussions with JP Morgan. They have indicated that they would consider repayment terms of up to 5 years, that the initial 3 years was due to concerns that they had with the uncertainties of impacts of COVID-19, and they're more comfortable that those impacts are not concerning to them, and there's more clarity that the impacts are minimal, and they're willing to consider a 5-year repayment. They also are willing to revise their terms related to the rate covenants, that they would look to the rates to be set to be covered by non-discretionary board items such as the debt service and energy supply, and that the board could determine that it wanted to fund programs, one-time programs, or rate discounts from their reserves, and that would not be considered in the formula for the rate covenant. So both of those, I think, are steps in the right direction and make that a good option potential for Clean Energy Alliance, and keeps it on the table. We've also spoken with River City Bank with regards to their willingness to reconsider the guarantees from the member agency. And they have indicated that since we are now closer to launch, and there's more certainty with regards to the launch, and knowing what our position will be, the financial position, that they would consider a loan that did not require a guarantee from the member agencies. Both loans are contingent, of course, on going through an application process and a due diligence in reviewing our pro forma that will be updated in the coming weeks. We would recommend that we work with both financial institutions and initiate the process, application process, and determine the best option to bring forward for the board's final consideration in December. And that concludes my presentation to the board. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Thank you for that. Board member questions? Yes, Vice Chair Becker.
No questions, but I mean, that's really good news. So I thank you for working on that and really getting us some better terms. So it looks like we have two good options, and they may even be even better by December. So thank you so much for that work on that.
You're welcome.
Yes, Board Member Schumacher.
Thank you very much. I got all of it this time. I've got a very gregarious 3-year-old that shares a wall with me. My understanding is that the pro forma, as we're able to finally get the consistent data that we need, would then go into the decision-making process of the option that is brought for recommendation at December 17th. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the extra work on this.
All right, thank you. And again, more kudos for keeping 2 very good options alive for us and actually making them better than how they started. So I really appreciate the work on this. And want to confirm whether or not there's any public comment on this item?
No requests to speak have been received.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to authorize our interim chief executive officer to negotiate terms for the Clean Energy Alliance credit solution?
I would move approval.
Happy to second.
Great. And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Schumacher,
Aye.
Vice Chair Becker,
Yes.
Chair Haviland.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. The next agenda item is board member requests for future agenda items. Any board members who have a request for a future agenda item? I did hear discussion earlier about bringing the AMP program back sooner rather than later.
So I'd be more happy to move that with a time doesn't need to be determined, but as the agenda allows and as the CEO feels is appropriate.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further comments, we now move on to the part of the agenda where I need to acknowledge that I am a departing board member of the Clean Energy Alliance. And I just want to let you all know what an honor it's been serving on this board. I truly believe that CEA will be a driving force in our communities for promoting the interconnected goals of both environmental justice and social justice. I think it's going to build resiliency in the region that is already experiencing the impacts of climate change. And it'll give a voice to our residents and be a tangible way for our residents to participate in this necessary shift to clean energy. So getting CEA off to a successful launch is going to be difficult. You all have a lot of challenges ahead, but I know that you have a great team here, and it's been such a pleasure being a part of this team. And I know you all are the right people to make this happen. So I just wish you all continued success.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for your calming presence on this board. You have been amazing. And your wisdom, all of the above. Thank you.
I second that wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Okay, so our next meeting is December 17th, and will be hosted by the City of Carlsbad. And we are through our agenda, so we are now adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Boswell.
I just want to echo the comments being made to thank you for your service to Clean Energy Alliance and helping to get us to this point. And we'll miss you as we move towards our launch.
Ms. Haviland, if I can second that, I would also like to say it's been a pleasure to work with you and wish you the best of luck in your next endeavors. We'll miss you. Thank you.
All right.
I also like to join in those comments. Again, just a terrific job of chairing this organization during a first year, which is always very challenging. So again, terrific job.
Stay with us. Don't leave us. Be a cheerleader for us.
You bet. You bet. Community buy-in is key, and I absolutely am on board to help any way I can. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I will still see you all just from the other side. Thank you.
Thank you.